Hello everyone. Today we will be talking about the MVT architecture in Django. So this is a PPT made by me in order to make you understand what is the MVT architecture and what is the difference between the MVT and MVC architecture, which are both the Django frameworks. So first is MVT in Django. Django is a Python web framework that uses the MVT architecture. The framework handles the controller part, making it easier to develop and maintain applications. Templates are used for presentation, and the view is responsible for calling business logic or interactions between the model and the view. Understanding the model layer, Django applications use Python objects called models to access and manage data. These models define the internal structure of the storing data, like field types, their maximum size, default values, label text for forms, etc. Models creation is independent of which database you are using. You can use any database. You don't need to talk to the database directly. You only need to create your model and structure and other code. And Django will take care of the dirty work of talking with the database. Next is mastering the view layer. A view function in Django is a Python function that accepts a web request and delivers a web response. The response in Django views can be anything that a web browser can show, including the HTML of a web page, a redirect, an XML document, an error, an image, etc. Views in Django are part of the user interface in Django application because they return the web pages that contain HTML, that is hypertext markup language, CSS, which is cascading style sheets, and JavaScript, which is used for the interactiveness of the web page in the template of the Django. Next is leveraging the template layer. Template in Django contains the static content of a Django project like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, along with the image used in the project. We can set the path of the Django template from the file of the Django project. This is the integration of the MVT layers. As you can see, the user will send the URL request to the Django framework, and the Django framework will try to find the resource URL that the user has requested from the views. And if it finds the respective resource URL from the views will find the corresponding template or model that needs to be rendered to show to the user. So yeah, in the last slide, as we saw, the user sends a URL request for a resource to Django. Django framework then searches for the URL resource. If the URL path links up to a view, then that particular view is called. The view interacts with the model, retrieving the relevant data from the database. The view then renders back an appropriate template along with the retrieved data to the user. Next is the difference between the MVC and the MVT architecture. Django, a popular Python web framework, is often debated to be either an MVC, that is Model View Controller, or MVT, that is Model View Template Framework. While Django's architecture is often referred to as MVC, that is Model View Controller, it is more accurately described as MVT, which is Model View Template. The key differences between these two architectures are the controller. In MVC, the controller handles user input, interacts with a model, and updates the view. In MVT, the controller is handled by the framework itself, and the view is responsible for calling business logic or interactions between the model and view. The templates in MVT, templates are used for presentation instead of views. This means that the framework takes care of rendering the templates, whereas in MVC, the view is responsible for rendering the presentation layer. The control code. In MVC, You need to write the control specific code, whereas in MVT, the framework itself is only able to handle the controller part, making it easier to develop and maintain applications. The MVT model view template architecture used in Django offers several benefits that make it a popular choice for web development. Here are some of the key advantages, that is loose coupling, separation of concerns, reusability, flexibility, easier maintenance, improved scalability, and simplified development. Loose coupling. The MVT architecture promotes loose coupling between the different components, making it easier to modify or replace individual parts without affecting the entire system. So basically, loose coupling means that the individual components that are used in these architecture are not interdependent on each other. They have their individual dependence on themselves only. And the next is separation of concerns. The model, view, and template are separate entities, each responsible for a specific task. This separation of concerns make it easier to maintain and update the code. This means that each part of a website that needs to be handled has a different component that handles it, that is model, view, and template, and these individually handle their own responsibilities, which makes it easier to maintain and update the code. Next is reusability, which is the MVT architecture allows for greater reusability of code as each component can be used in multiple contexts. Flexibility. MVT provides flexibility in terms of the type of data that can be used, the presentation layer, and the controller logic. Easier maintenance. With MVT, it's easier to maintain and update the code as each component is self-contained and can be modified independently. Improved scalability. MVT architecture makes it easier to scale the application as each component can be scaled independently. Simplified development. MVT simplifies the development process as each component has a clear and well-defined frame. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked it. Please like and share and subscribe to this. Thank you.